Welcome to the Silica Exposure Training for the cut stone industry. This training covers the identification, evaluation, and control of silica exposures in cut stone and stone fabrication industries. The training was developed by Georgia Tech's Safety, Health, and Environmental Services Group with funding from the U.S. Department of Labor's Susan Harwood Training Grant Program. This is Lesson 8, Housekeeping. Keeping a fabrication shop clean can be a huge challenge. Depending on the type of engineering controls implemented at the site, there may be lots of water, dust, or slurry or mud to manage. However, since the dust, water, and slurry or mud will contain silica, there are some important restrictions outlined in the silica standard that are intended to prevent exposure to respirable crystalline silica. These restrictions include no dry sweeping or dry brushing, no use of compressed air unless that compressed air is used in conjunction with a ventilation system, or there is absolutely no other method available. Let's take a look at why. Here is a video of an employee using compressed air to clean off a rack that had accumulated dust on its surface. As you can see, this process produces a tremendous cloud of respirable crystalline silica that now potentially could be inhaled by the employees working at this location. Not only that, but this does not remove the dust from the environment and only moves it around the room to settle in another surface. Other housekeeping hazards we see when we inspect countertop companies includes the use of fans intended to keep workers cool that end up blowing dust around the plant and not storing items in the proper place, leading to things like the eye wash bottles station being blocked for employees' use. In the first photo, we have an electrical panel that is covered in silica dust with a work table pushed underneath of it, cluttered with tools and clothing. This is a hazard not only because there is dust on the panel, but the working space that is required to be kept free and clear around the panel is being used for storage, which is a violation of OSHA rules. In the second photo, the drains that are supposed to be used to remove water used during fabrication from pooling on the floors are clogged with mud and debris, creating dangerous walking and working surfaces. And these are just a few examples of how poor housekeeping can lead to hazardous conditions. So what is a company to do? First, if using water to control dust at the shop, make sure the drains are kept clear so that walking and working surfaces can be kept clear of pooling water. In this video, you can see the water coming off the CNC machine and going into the floor drains below. And in the second video, you can see water coming off a slab polisher and going into the drains. The next step is to clean up as you go. This employee is using water jets from his wet angle grinder to wet down the surface on the countertop and then uses a squeegee to clean off the surface. Employers must restrict housekeeping practices that would expose workers to silica, such as prohibiting the use of compressed air and dry sweeping cleanup methods. This is why, at the end of each shift, the fabrication polishing areas should be completely cleaned while the area is still wet. This will hopefully remove a majority of the respirable crystalline silica from the floor, which can become airborne again once the water has dried and the dry area is disturbed by feet or forklifts. Tools like the Windsor floor scrubber, which has HEPA filters and is pictured here, may also assist in cleaning shop floors and removing settled respirable crystalline silica. If you don't have access to floor cleaners, let's look at housekeeping being done in a way to prevent exposure to silica dust using a hose and a squeegee brush. Here, you see an employee using water and a squeegee to clean up the floors at the end of the shift. This method keeps the dust out of the air and the workers safe. Another option for housekeeping is to use a vacuum system with a high-efficiency particulate air filter, or HEPA filter. These types of filters are able to capture the fine silica particles in a way that a shop vac from your local hardware store without a HEPA filter would never be able to capture the dust. These HEPA vacuum systems come in both wet and dry systems that can also incorporate water. They can be floor push models, a ride-on style, or even backpack systems for employees to walk around the shop and clean. However, all vacuum systems must also contain a label to identify them as containing silica dust. Take great care and follow manufacturer's instructions when changing out the filters and emptying these vacuums, as the filter changeout process can be a source of significant exposure. Thank you for watching Lesson 8 of the Silica Exposure Training for the Cutstone industry, a training on the identification, evaluation, and control of silica exposure in the cut stone and stone fabrication industries. This material was produced under grant number SH37200 SH1 from the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, U.S. Department of Labor. It does not necessarily reflect the views or policies of the U.S. Department of Labor, nor does the mention of trade names, commercial products, or organizations imply endorsement by the U.S. government.